Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of The Truth from the Booth. This is episode 17, and today's very special guest is a educator, a DJ, a producer, an artist, a father, and an all-around inspiration to what I do. And after today, he should be for what you do as well. He is none other than the amazing DJ HAPA. Welcome to The Truth from the Booth, HAPA.
Man, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited. You're one of my favorite people to spend time with. So the fact that we could do this and then be able to record something, be able to share this with the world, happy to be here, man.
Man, the feeling's mutual. You know this. We've spoke many of times, a lot in depth about our vision, our goals, our failures, our inspirations, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you on here and to share with the universe what we got going on, where we're going, you know, where you're from. So basically, I want to get started with your origin story, like I always do. I know you are originally from the Bay.
Yeah, from San Francisco.
Yes, and from San Fran, and you moved to Los Angeles, 98.
98.
Wow.
Moved because I got accepted to UCLA on a full scholarship.
Congratulations. That's my
Yeah, thank
son's
you, man.
dream.
Thank you, man. It was an academic scholarship. I was decent. I played decent ball in high school, but like definitely didn't have what it would take to make it on the UCLA team. But yeah, man, just blessed to be able to go to a school like UCLA, and that's really where DJing took off for me. I mean, I started DJing and dabbling. You know how it was back in the day. Like you, it was like collecting records. I had saved up for I think I had Gemini belt drive turntables, like the DJ in the box situation, and I brought those with me to college when I moved to UCLA, and, it was meeting other DJs on campus and just people that were better than me, and I was just like, "Man, show me. Take me under your wing, show me. I will carry crates, I will set up speakers, I will do whatever. I wanna be around this." There was just a curiosity more than anything, and then one thing led to the next, and really, I think my big I don't know if I could say my big moment because there were lots of these different moments, but one of the biggest ones was getting connected to a guy that ended up joining our DJ crew. It was like the 10th man on a 10-man DJ crew. And by the way, it wasn't just men, it was women as well. In fact, the leader of the crew was a woman, Jenny. And these guys and girls were killing it, doing all sorts of frat parties and stuff like that. And um, you know, I was the 10th man on this DJ crew, and the ninth man on the DJ crew was a guy named Quickie. And Quickie and I really hit it off. And then he had this idea with another fraternity brother of his to start a website called DJ City. And so we started all of that like literally in a apartment in Westwood. And I didn't know what we were doing. Like I had never done anything like this. And next thing I was thrown into this, and this is early stages of eBay, even like 1999. And we didn't know what we were doing, but we sure had we had passion. We had passion, man. And one thing led to the next. And obviously, DJ City has become what it's become.
I'm a
That
member.
turned Man, that turned into distributing records. I was distributing records on 2 cell phones and a laptop in 2000 under the name Urban Distribution, and it was literally like a one-man show, a one-man sales team. I was cold calling record stores. I was distributing all of like I met this guy, Kevin Scott. I started distributing the things that he was trying to put out. He was putting things on wax. Echo and Vice came to me to like distribute their record. Like we didn't know what we were doing, man. We were just doing it. And one thing led to the next. And we ended up starting a record store, Rehab Records, and then that turned into Scratch DJ Academy, did that for 15 years, ran the brand, built other schools in different locations, caught the bug of education, and here I am, man.
Yeah, here you are, all the way from an inspiration off of diving into the unknown because DJing wasn't what it is today, obviously. 98, 99, early 2000s, there wasn't this promise of career. It was a
No.
passion project. And if you got lucky, you got on with a rap group or
Radio, maybe.
radio,
Yeah.
right, or nightclub scene, but there wasn't a longevity guarantee in this game. It was a young
No.
man.
And you know what's crazy, man, is I used to when I was in college, So obviously, when you're in college, there's a track, right? People are there for 4 years or whatever, and then they get their degree and then they go get a job. And so I literally sat there watching everybody from our DJ crew, who were amazing DJs, by the way. It would go from literally the day they graduated was like the last day that they, and I was just like, oh, that's the edge of the cliff. Like
Yeah.
that's where it is. So when you graduate, that's it. And it's just so wild, man, because the whole time you're absolutely right. There was not this career path, there was not this intention. Like this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like I'm just going to double down on this. Been a journey of faith and literally one foot in front of the next, and the door, it's like those memes and stuff that you see where you take one step and then the car just misses the person, or the door just opens, right? But like you're running full speed and the door is completely closed, and then at the last minute it opens. That's my career, man. That's what, and I know I'm not alone. I know there's other people that are like that too, but it's been like that, man, for the last 20 years. It's been like that.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I always use the analogy of the Indiana Jones movie where he had to step out on faith. He couldn't see the bricks.
Yeah.
He had to step
Yep.
and believe that it was gonna land.
That's such a
And
good visual, man. But you know, people of a certain age will understand that reference.
well, they can backtrack. They got
Yeah,
Netflix.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We could go back and YouTube that thing.
I love that. And what was your degree that you set out for?
Okay, so I get to UCLA. I'm there. I can't come in undeclared because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then I felt like advertising was really interesting to me for whatever reason. Like advertising kind of caught my eye. I was like, I think I want to do advertising. UCLA doesn't have an advertising major. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure what to do. I ended up joining it was a club. There was like an advertising like on campus that you could join. And so I joined that, learned a lot about that. We were mentored underneath the business school folks. And I was like, man, I think this is what I want to do. So I just need to pick something to major in just to be able to get my degree. And then I'll go and do advertising. And so I waited to the very last moment. I had to make a decision. It was like, you have to make a decision by this date. And I waited all the way up until that date. And then at the time I was just like, okay, well, what am I interested in? What did I like? What was a class I liked? Oh, I liked some of the sociology classes. Those were okay. And they had some cute girls in the sociology class. All right, I'm gonna pick that. It was
Yeah.
either between that and communications, because there
Yeah.
were some cute girls in communications too. And so I was like, all right, well, that's what it is in sociology. And I had no idea what the heck I was gonna do with a sociology degree. Funny enough, I use my degree every day. Every day. I mean, it's one of the most useful things. I say to people, if you don't know what you want to major in, pick sociology because it will give you just a good wide base, and you're learning how to pick up on nonverbal cues, looking at different ways that people interact with one another. You're reading a crowd,
I
essentially
was
what
gonna
you're
say reading
doing.
the room. It is reading
Yeah.
the room.
Yeah. So I have a degree in reading the room.
That's beautiful.
You know what I mean? And
I got mine from the streets, but you got from your UCLA.
I had to get it official. But
Yeah.
here's
No.
the thing though. Many people don't know this, so I'm gonna give you the exclusive here. I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast. My degree, I am class of 2019.
Wow.
Wait, so you process that for a little bit.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I got
20
to
years later.
UCLA. I got to UCLA in '98. It took me 21 years to get my degree, and I had everything finished except for about. I think I had one credit left, and I still had this other class I needed to take to finish it up. And at the time, I remember it was the spring of 2003, and they said you have the ability to walk if you want to, as long as you promise us that you'll come back in the spring and finish up. In the fall and finish up. I was like, yeah, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah. For
And I had
sure.
every intent in doing so, and then they messed up, man, and they made me the keynote speaker at the graduation and the whole thing. And so I was like, okay, well, I feel like I'm done. I think this was it. And at the time, like things were really taking off for DJ City and the distribution company and everything that we were doing. And we were building a record store in West LA, and I just couldn't hold on anymore. And everybody else was either working full time and had either left school, or they were working on the business full time, and I felt left out of it. I was trying to do both. So I was like, all right, well, I'm all in on the business then. Like I feel like this is what we need to do. And I never looked back. But the whole time, I mean, it was this thing that was bugging me. Anytime I would have a conversation, about, "Oh, where'd you go to school? Okay, all right. What was your degree in?" And it's like, yeah, that little thing that's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
didn't finish. You didn't
yeah.
finish." And man, I went back to school. I went back to school at the age of 39. I went back to college at the age of 39, and I'm literally in classes. I'm sitting in a classroom where the professor is my age and the students are 19 years old. I'm like 20 years older than the students, you know? And I'm trying to get study groups together and like the whole
You're
thing,
all
man. But
organized and professional, and they're all flaky and
yeah,
immature.
no, totally. It was exactly that. I mean, you know,
But I think that's beautiful because it just goes to show you that the stigma of young and learning is not the end all. You don't stop, you never stop learning. I think one of the problems with society today is that we kind of stop educating
yeah,
after we're done with school. We stop
yeah,
reading books, we stop studying or improving our mental capacity because we're not forced to.
yeah.
That's such a disservice to ourselves as human beings. These things that we've got here, these craniums are better and more adapt to collecting information than a supercomputer, but we
Yeah.
don't utilize.
No, it's so true. It's so true, man. And that's why I have so much respect for people that are my students in whatever capacity, you know, whether they're my students online in my courses or, you know, I teach now at Mount SAC at Mount San Antonio College. I teach a DJ class there. And, you know, because of community college, you get people from all different walks of life at all different stages of life coming into that classroom. And then certainly on the online side, we've got people from man, I mean, I've got students in their 70s and 80s taking DJ classes, which is like such an inspiration. And I've told these students that I'm like, man, you can't I gotta say, you know, the fact that you're putting yourself out there at this stage of life saying, "Hey, I don't know everything I want to know, and yet I have this yearning and this desire to continue to better myself and, you know, pick up a new skill set." I've got so much respect for people, and not just the older people, but you know, also the people who are middle aged or at any age and saying, "Hey, I'm a lifelong learner, and I know that there's things that I don't know, and I'm looking for an expert and somebody, a mentor, a coach, to be able to help me get to where I'm trying to get to." Yeah,
Yeah, I love that because that's where happiness is found by improving and growth. I feel like a lot of people get old, get sick, and die because there's nothing left for them to do, or they haven't taken the opportunity to do more things. Like, what's inspiring you to wake up in the morning if you're just redundantly doing the same thing and not growing at all? And I think that you are not only extending people's lives and extending their own lives by having something to look forward to, but also the quality of life.
but yeah,
Music is such a, therapeutic tool for us. Obviously, we know, and I think as human beings, that's the one universal language of that we can all connect to.
yeah,
Is the base of music is communication and love. Like the best songs, the best hits, the most worldwide global appeal songs have to do with what?
love,
Love.
yeah,
Straight up. And that's the human connection, and man, I'm just so impressed by that. So, speaking on education,
yep,
take us into and teaching, started at the Scratch Academy
yep,
where you were teaching students there,
yep,
right? And now moving into the DJ coach, which is
yep.
kind of transformed into your own thing onto a more global appeal. I know the Scratch Academy at the time was hands-on, in person. Was there still an online presence back
No,
then? 'Cause it was
no,
very
no, no, no. There was
there
no
wasn't a lot of
online.
live streaming going on.
Yeah, yeah, there was no online. I was really hoping to be able to bring, you know, Scratch DJ Academy online. There were some other challenges in trying to do so, and the world wasn't quite ready for it yet either, not like it is today, right? So that would have been very early, you know, prior to any sort of sign of the wave. But I felt like that this is probably probably around 2017. I started looking around like there's got to be more to this. And I was I felt really glad and really fulfilled with all of the people that we were affecting in these local areas where we had set up shop. You know, at the time, at its height, we had 6 schools total. So it was New York, which was the first one. I helped bring the school from New York to LA. That was the second one. And then Miami was third. And then it was Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia. And then we were getting ready to open up a school in Barcelona. And that was actually I was really excited to be able to do that, and then, you know, it just wasn't in the cards, man. It just at some point, it ran its course, and It was 15 years, and it was one of the hardest decisions I had to make, like professionally, was stepping down from my role at Scratch. I had built so many relationships. I had helped build a brand that I felt like really defined DJ education in that time frame, in that time period. And we had even launched a certification program and the whole nine. And yet at the same time, I knew, like I knew in my soul, like I knew that there were people that wanted this, that we didn't have a way to get them to one of those cities. And, I had to take some time off. Like that was actually during that time when I left Scratch was when I went back to school, finished my degree, ended up taking a job at Mount Sac, becoming a college professor, got an offer to become a college professor. And to me, it felt like, okay, this is a part of maybe what the next chapter is, but I didn't feel like it was everything that the next chapter was. And I was getting these visions, and my wife actually had a dream, and God was telling her in this dream that like I needed to be in a different space, and I needed to be in a space in which we could reach people from all over the world. And so I just kind of said it, man. I like it sounded good to be like, I want to teach the world to DJ. It sounded good. Good soundbite. But I had no idea how it was going to actually happen. And, when we launched the DJ Coach, the original plans were to launch the DJ Coach in 2020, prior to obviously us knowing what 2020 would bring. But, in that time frame between when I had left Scratch and when I was getting ready to launch the DJ Coach, I really had to reimagine the way that we take something so physical and how we create a really rich process online, where somebody feels supported as if they were in the room, but you just can't simply throw a camera up and be like, all right, great, you're here, but here's how you do it. It doesn't work the same way. So I spent a lot of time like researching other people and how they were doing things, and understanding maybe how to put this together. And I was actually inspired on several different levels from really places that you would maybe not expect so much. And one of the inspirations was actually from the church. And at the time we had renewed our faith, my wife and I, and we were a part of a church called Elevation, which was based out of North Carolina. And the way that they created community online was beautiful. Like there was such a deep connection despite the fact that you weren't in the same physical location. And I pulled, some inspiration from that. And yeah, man, we launched the DJ Coach with the help of some partners, Serato, Hercules, Pioneer DJ, and we launched the DJ Coach in October 2020. And we ran a report. I think it was like 12 months later, we ran a report, and we had students from 190 different countries.
Yeah. I remember getting those stats, and I was
It was
just blown away
crazy.
by the impact that it has. And what I love about the way that you approached it, and I didn't know that about the drawing from the church community, 'cause that makes perfect sense to draw from things that are successful in different aspects and apply it to your craft.
Yeah.
And what I love about the way that you approached it was that there's different kinds of learners. There's audio learners, visual learners, hands-on learners. And beautiful thing about what you do is you kind of approach it from that angle and give a little bit of all those angles so that people can connect.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
a lot of times students get lost, and it's not
No,
because
all the time. All the time. I mean,
in school in general, you can't.
yeah.
Some kids learn by packet repetitiveness. Some kids learn by audio speeches. Some kids learn by you over their shoulder, showing them the breakdown of how to make it work.
Yeah.
And as an educator, I thought that was so, impressive, was to acknowledge that and apply it to what you were doing. Because a lot of teachers just, it's my way or you don't get it.
Well,
You know,
you know what really helped with that also is, and you understand this, and we've had some conversation around this as well, is as I was putting this together, I had there were a couple of big light bulb moments, and one of the biggest ones was I am not a teacher. I teach, but I don't identify as a teacher. I feel like I'm a coach, and I think the role of the coach and taking it from that angle. Of course, coaches also teach, but coaches aren't teachers, and there's a difference between the verb and the noun. And I feel like I resonated so much more with the idea of being a coach. Like, I can't do the work for you. You're going to have to do the work. So I can be here to give you what I think is a good play, but ultimately you're the one who's going to be on that field, and you've got to run the play. When you run the play, I'm also going to be here on the sideline for you to come back to the sideline and we can talk about it. whether or not that worked or not, what adjustments we need to make. But there is very much this different dynamic of that relationship between coach and player versus teacher and student. I feel like teacher and student historically is more of a lecturer, or like, I'm up here, I'm the expert, I know what this is, you're the student, you don't know anything. You are doing what I'm telling you to do. And if you don't, then I'm going to give you a bad grade. And that's a lot different than what the consequences are on a field or on a court, right? Like, and there's a sense of ownership on behalf of the player who's on the court. You know, if a team loses, and you know this because you guys are on a winning streak, your teams, man. But you know this, when a team wins, every player on that team feels a part of that win. When a team loses, every player on that team feels that. When it's a student and teacher relationship, it does not feel communal like that.
Right. The
Not at all.
teacher
Not
doesn't feel it.
traditional.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think that light bulb, I think an early conversation we had on a podcast we did at the studio in downtown LA
Mhm.
kind of sparked that whole thing because I was in the middle of when I first started coaching and
Yeah, you're
really,
coaching your son's team. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, and got sparked by this total clarity moment of communication and what it takes to get to inspire others to feel that passion that you are trying to instill in them.
Yeah.
And with the coaching angle from it, that is a perfect analogy because, you are invested in it more as a coach because the passion is there for not only the art form or the skill set, but also the person that is expressing it.
That's right. That's right.
So
There's layers of that where it's not just the surface layer of how are you performing? Like, what does your performance look like? It's, you know, some of the best coaches. I was watching that documentary. There was a documentary on Iverson, and they were talking about the role that like John Thompson, his college coach, played in his life. And a coach's role is you're coaching the person. You're coaching the player, but you're also coaching the person simultaneously. And that there is this, it's hard to even describe, if you've never had a coach or you've never, been a coach, sometimes that's a hard thing to describe to somebody. But if you've been there, you absolutely know it where you're like, nope, my coach is still an extension of my family to this day. The guy who was my high school basketball coach or whatever. Like, there's a different, unique relationship that, can be there for teachers too. I'm not taking anything away from that. There's certain teachers that absolutely
I
are
think the
invested.
great ones have that connection
Yeah, yeah,
where they
yeah,
can feel
100%.
that your emotions are off or something else is going on with you because you're out of character right now or not performing up to your potential. So let's peel
Yes.
back some layers and get personal a little bit because I actually care about you as a human being rather than just a scorecard on a test.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what's crazy is in college in particular, teaching in higher ed, there is, I'm not here to talk bad about any other professors in higher ed, but there is a sort of a norm that most college professors don't really care about their students. A lot of times, depending on the university you're at or the college you're at, some of these professors are even there purely just for other reasons. Like, they're there to be researchers. Like, UCLA was a perfect example of that. It was a big research facility. So you had people that were there on campus. They were like, yeah, I'll teach a class also, but I'm really here because I'm trying to do my own research and I'm happen to teach this 101 class or whatever. And they, just by nature of volume of students too, at some point, you got 400 students in a classroom. It's hard to care about every one of those students. But, for me, that is the approach I'm trying to take even inside of higher ed with my course that I have at Mount Sac is like, I could care less about the grades. I really could. Like, yes, there's things that I have to do to be able to make sure that this is up to standard of a college level course. But, this really is about helping to develop young people or people who are, at this stage, lifelong learners, and to be able to get them to the next stage of what it is that they want to do. And that really is the goals. Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. And I want to touch on some of the technology that's evolved to make this process even more adaptable to a wider range of people. I mean, you were one of the first people that I ever saw on a virtual DJ metaverse
Yeah.
inside the goggles DJing. And now now it's stepped up to it's that artificial reality has now become physical reality with
Yep.
Meta Ray-Ban glasses.
Yep. Yep.
And now we are first person able to show that. Talk about give me a little bit about how you came into play on that, and what was that a technology that you were approached by, that or you came up on or discovered?
Yeah. Yeah. So probably around 2005, I'd say maybe 2004, 2005. I was against technology coming into our space for so long. Like, I owned a record store, right? So I owned a vinyl record store. So it would be bad for business if I was like, yeah, get rid of the wax, just get on a computer. I often tell people the two words that I think we all should be very conscious about saying and using are always and never. Very rarely are those accurate words to be able to describe anything. But I was that person who was like, I'll never use a laptop to DJ.
Same
And
boat, a purist.
yes, yes. I mean, I still have my records. I've lost in some of the shuffle and some of the moves around, like I've lost quite a bit of my collection over the years, but I still have wax and I have a great affinity for it as well. I love the process of going to a record store and digging through the crates and finding stuff. Although now it's so dang expensive.
Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous.
Who can afford to be a vinyl purist these
Yeah,
days?
no way, man.
Bucks for a full complete classic album?
Yeah, yeah, and well, not and sometimes not even a classic album.
Right, just a
Album.
blueprint.
Just yeah, I mean, you know, so I was against technology for a long time, and then 2004, 2005, I took a gig on the news, on the KTLA Morning News, Channel 5, and
I remember you DJing.
and I did that, man. I did that for almost 2.5, almost 3 years. I did that every morning, and I was still in the club, 3, 4 times out of the week. I was still in the club, and then trying to get to KTLA for like a 5 o'clock call time or something like that. The At that moment though, on air, I think the first week I brought records and I was doing everything off vinyl. And then the second week I was like, this I can't do this. I can't carry crates to the studio every morning. And sometimes I need songs that I obviously don't have on wax. And so I made the switch to Serato. I made the switch to Scratch Live around that time. Mr. Chalk, shout out to Mr. Chalk, who's my big brother, man. But
Same.
Chalk was the one who was like, "It's gonna be okay. You can do it." He was about a year ahead of me, and I mean, he road tested that. And if it was good enough for Chalk, I was like, "Okay, it's good enough for Chalk. It should be good enough for me." And I jumped onto that, and from that point on, I've never looked back. At that point, it's just been, I want to see how far we can push the technology. I've been doing all sorts of things on the tech side for years, basically since then. So like the last 20, I got involved with a project with HP and consulted with HP for a while, trying to make a DJ specific laptop. We did a whole thing with a Beats laptop and all of this, like before Beats got bought by Apple, and started developing apps. I had at one point I was working with a development team out of South America on a clear, it was like plexiglass that you could DJ off of, and it was just a screen, a clear screen. It looked like Minority Report. I was doing that in like 2000. And so literally I've just kind of had my eye out for new technology that could be interesting. And as an educator as well, I think I have a unique angle because I also need to be well versed in essentially everything that's out there. So it's a part of my job essentially to just be aware of what's out there, aware of what beginners need, or what everybody else kind of needs, advanced, pros need too. And I had a friend of mine, Josh Levine, who reached out to me and was like, we were just catching up, and he knew I was big on a bunch of the technology and whatnot. And he said, "Hey, man, I came across these guys. Have you heard of them? There's a company called Tribe. They're based out of San Francisco." And I was like, "Yeah, I've seen this." Like I'd had my eye on them for the last maybe year or so and was watching them kind of grow and build something. And he was like, I met these guys and I think you might be able to help them and vice versa. And like, can I make an introduction? And so he made an introduction and, we really hit it off. And yeah, I mean, that was back in, I think that was 2020, 2019, 2020, maybe early 2020. I think January 2020, we started talking and trying to formalize, what this could look like. And they needed education inside the app, and a few other things. And so I came on board to help them take the idea to the next stage. And yeah, it's just been a beautiful relationship and just such a cool piece of technology. In fact, actually, at the time of recording this, I'm getting ready to install an experience called Digital Twins inside of a gallery in NYU at the end of this month or in the beginning of February. And we've got the real Flex 4. But check this out. You'll love this, actually. So in this one space, it's meant to be Digital Twins is the name of the exhibit. And it's really about the how hip hop has embraced technology. And so in one section, we've got a DJ section. And in that section, we've got Grand Mixer DXT's turntables from the Grammys.
Damn.
And then I'm installing a modern day, DJ controller, the Flex 4 from Pioneer DJ. We've got the Pioneer DJ Flex 4 with Serato, where people can then like learn a little something on that, but see where it was in the 80s to now see where this is at today. And then I've got a VR headset that's there with the same Flex 4 inside of the headset. So people are going to get a chance to experience the whole thing. But
Yeah, to go
yeah,
the time travel from the past to the present to the future, that is amazing. Because I
yeah,
think that's important in today's education of new up and coming DJs. Doesn't matter if they're young or old, but I think that's part of the missing part of the formula is them doing their homework and knowing the history of where it came from. Because a lot of times, I think a lot of the complaint of today's newer DJs is that they're totally unaware or oblivious to where this art form came from
for sure.
and the respect that it deserves. And I think that's where a lot of the more mature or older DJs get offended is
Yeah,
that they don't know what we've been through to get to this point. They just picked
sure.
up a USB stick and a virtual controller, and now you are a DJ.
Yeah. Yeah, but that also I think, I agree with that. I agree with that, and I would also say that our group, I'm in that older group, right? We have to make sure that we're doing a better job at passing that knowledge down.
Yes.
And, I think we have to be more proactive about that. It's like your kids, like any parent will know this, right? It's like at some level, your kid does not care about X, Y, or Z. But it is our job as parents to be able to make them aware. There may be, it may need to require some repetition. It may need to require coming at it from a different angle. But the responsibility, like, yes, I would love a situation in which you've got a 19-year-old who's like, tell me everything. I want to know everything. And there are going to be those kids that are out there or those, that next generation that's like that. But there'll also be a lot of people that just don't know what they don't know. And so I think it really is critical. I mean, we have a K through 12 program as well that I launched 3 years ago now called Start to DJ. And in that first level, in the first set of modules, I think it's lesson 6, we talk about the loop and we talk about Cool Herc. And I tell them the story of how the break was then used and extended for this purpose. And essentially that Cool Herc has now created this loop in that space, and he's doing it live. And obviously Grandmaster Flash creating the merry-go-round and the whole thing. And it's like, there are kids that are in that program that would not have asked about that. Most of them are not going to ask about that because how would they have known? They wouldn't be like, hey, so where's the loop from?
Yeah.
There must have been some old DJ who figured that out. It's like, no, they don't know. So I think, have to make a more concerted effort to make sure that we are continuing to put that out there and put out the history. And that's why, man, I'm really I feel honored to be able to even share some of my story on your podcast, because there's a lot of my history that somebody who comes onto IG and finds me on IG or whatever does not know, like, all of the things that I've been through, right? So they just look at this, and same with you, right? Like, I mean, man, we've been here for a minute and we are still here doing the things that we're doing, and we've evolved our careers. And I think, we do need to make sure that we're creating spaces like this so that we can talk about some of these things and share some of these things with the next generation. Yeah.
Definitely, I agree 100%. And some of these intricate history lessons are bound to inspire growth in maybe inspire someone to produce or go deeper into the loop, or create something new that where their legacy will live forever in this history of the evolution of turntablism, DJing, and entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes in cycles, right? We know that. We know that it all comes in cycles, and that the past informs the present, and and vice versa, right? The present becomes the past, and you sort of have this ongoing cycle of how things are created and curated, and the innovation that comes with that. So, yeah, I agree, and I think, you know, it's always funny to me to, like, hear the latest Pitbull song or hear the latest,
These
X, Y, or Z, and hear basically hear the sample. I think the last one I heard more recently was, and it took me by surprise at first because I think it was a Khaled record with SZA on it, and they had sampled the Outkast Miss Jackson beat, and I'm just like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense because this next generation, they don't remember that song. They don't know that song necessarily, so yeah,
Yeah,
man.
we are now in the generation of our parents heard Dr. Dre samples and
Right.
was, "This is the stylistic,
Yeah.
this is that." And
Yeah.
now we are in that cycle, and it's about it's 30 years of cycle exactly, because that's when the publishing and the really that's when everything the business gets recycled to make
Sure.
these affordable and accessible to producers without having to cost them everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole other topic for sure.
Right.
That you could go deep on that for sure because it is true, man. Like that's what 30 years ago, at the time of recording this, it's 2025, right? So that is what is that,
26, maybe.
95?
It's
96.
26.
Sorry, it's 2026. It's
Yeah,
2026.
96.
Yeah, so 96. Yeah.
The great was 93 through 97. I posted something the other day. The amount of artists and superstars that came out in that block of 4 year span was untouched, is
Mm,
untouched. The amount
yeah.
of talent and
Yeah.
the hits that came
Yeah.
out of that. And now that's all due for recycling now, as if
Yeah.
it's brand new. You're going to take a pattern of success, and you're going to repeat it to try and recreate it. And that's where we're at right now. I've heard so many 90s songs that are being recycled but not even sampled, just straight ripped.
Well, yeah, that was the thing with that Khaled record. I was like, this is literally the instrumental. Like, you didn't do anything to this. I mean, you just like, it sounded like maybe it started as a mashup, I mean, I don't
Right,
know.
man. That is funny, but so true, because we're in that era now of it's brand new to them, so they're gonna run with it.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about A Tribe Called Dad,
Yeah.
the podcast that not kind of, definitely inspired me to get my thing going, and share my story of not only career and accolades, but also the learning lessons and failures, and the things that create these stepping stones into future success. So you becoming a dad found a space of a community of fathers that are in our industry,
Yeah.
right? That kinda, because it's not a cookie cut thing where we have days of work, hours of set times, and we deal with our family we're home for dinner at 6 p.m. and, it's not s it's kind of
Yeah.
a
We used,
wild
we used to
life.
say the non to five dad or the non 9 to 5 dad, Yeah.
Yeah, and finding that, and creating that was a really amazing space, which, I can honestly say helped me become a better father by hearing other
Mm,
perspectives.
mm.
So I just want to give you gratitude, of course, and recognition on that. And we had spoke about getting it going again.
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that, as a father, that you have come to realize about yourself and about your growth, that have inspired you to do this and take it to the next level?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, man, thank you for those kind words. And, like everything else in my career and in my life, it literally was that one step in front of the next, and you never know what's going to happen and what that would be. That actually was born out of a conversation, and my wife really inspired this. At the time, we were over at Dash Radio. I was running the morning show at Dash Radio, and we also had a feel good sound show that we were doing there. My wife and one of her friends were trying to figure out, like, they were going through it in motherhood, And at that time, we had just had our second child, and so I've got 2 girls and 2 boys, and so we had just had our second daughter, and my wife was, getting kind of this creative itch, but also felt like things that I'm seeing out there from, moms that are putting stuff up, I just don't resonate with Becky in Laguna Beach or whatever. Like, she's just like, I don't see myself in her, and I was like, yeah, you guys should totally start something. And initially we thought about starting a podcast, and then the opportunity came up to produce a show for Dash Radio. And so we ended up producing a show called Mom Life Yo on Dash Radio. And it sat on the talk station and was this really great space to be able to bring, moms together and be able to share this sort of unique view of motherhood. And I was producing the show, and a lot of times would be in the room engineering the show as well. And there would be a topic that would come up, and they'd have like a child psychologist on as a guest, and it'd be all women in the room. Like, hey, so what do dads have to say about this? I'm just like, so let me speak for all dads right now. And I obviously don't have a problem getting on a mic and saying how I, feel or what I think about something. But in that moment, that felt really heavy. Like, wow, like let me represent for dads. And I remember one day after the show, they said, I think we should make this dad thing like a regular like segment. And I was like, I guess so, sure. And then the idea was, well, actually, maybe you should have your own show, and maybe there needs to be something like this for dads. And as much as this didn't exist for moms at the time, it was even more barren for dads.
Yeah.
And so at the time, a good mutual friend of ours, Spider, he and I were kind of just chopping it up, and he had just had fairly recently. He had I think his son and my oldest daughter are about the same age, and so I think they were about 3 years old or whatnot. And Spider felt like, man, I need somebody. I need another dad to talk to about some of these things. We started talking about it, and I told him, I was like, man, my wife is trying to get me to start like a podcast. He was like, man, I would do it with you, and I was like, okay. All right. So then we ended up starting a tribe called Dad, and it just became this, it had a life of its own at some point. And then COVID happened, and that was all pre-COVID. And then COVID happened, and we sort of lost a little bit of steam and a little bit of momentum on that. And still though, to this day, man, I believe that that is one of the things that I meant to still carry out. And I was so glad that you and I connected the other day and that you had asked me about it, because it's been on my heart to reignite a tribe called Dad. I mean, obviously with podcasts, it never really dies. It's still out there, right? Like, so the content's gonna live for as long as these platforms are around. But we just haven't been creating new content for a tribe called Dad in a bit of time. And I'm at a completely different life stage. At the time of creating that, I had my 2 daughters. I was a girl dad. I mean, I had t-shirts that was like
Yeah,
girl
girl dad. I
dad, and
remember.
like, and then got asked to go on, the news segments for Father's Day and to talk about this. And there just still tends to be this real need for that and for voices in that space. And hearing you even share the other day of how this has really helped you, it has really helped me as well. It really shaped who I am as a dad. It made me a lot more intentional about how I was approaching fatherhood. There is no manual to fatherhood or parenthood in general. And just to be able to tap in with other dads and be able to like kick it around a bit, and to also get into some real conversations. No disrespect to any of the dad communities that are out there that are led by comedians, or like the memes around dads and fatherhood. Like, that's all fun, and that's all good, and dad jokes. But, there are some real elements of this, and some of those conversations, man, that we were having were like real conversations
Yeah, I
and
felt very,
necessary.
I felt not only inspired, but just to be able to be vulnerable of your own insecurities as a father, because it is the heaviest load you'll ever carry, to be perfectly
Ever,
honest with you. And
ever.
a lot of the time, most of the time, we don't get to express ourselves because we just grin and bear whatever we got to deal with. It's like that meme where the whole world is exploding around you, and there's bullets and cannonballs and everything's exploding, and you're just in slow motion, focus on what you have to do to be able to
Yeah.
provide, because that's what we're usually,
Yeah.
our role is as fathers, is to provide and not express our fears or insecurities or worries.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a great space, especially in our industry, to where how to maneuver successfully as not only an entertainer who's giving your everything to everybody else all the time of a room full of strangers, but to be able to come home and give still give energy
100%.
to your family, which first and foremost is the most important thing you got.
Well, and I'll also say, man, I'm not trying to be polarizing in any type of way, but, there also is this added layer for those of us who are also married because it's not just about like being a father, it's also about being a husband. And like that, they're not the same
No,
in any which way. They're
but
two different roles.
there are certain similarities in that your wife looks to you for that safety, that comfort,
Yes.
to be
Yes.
vulnerable, to be as a protector and provider of if she had one, you
Yeah.
know, growing up, that you are fulfilling that role. That's why when people get married, who gives this hand in marriage? It's now your responsibility to care for
Yeah.
this woman
But there's a lot of people that believe that if they're a good dad, that then they've checked the box.
yeah, that's not
And it's like they require a different energy as well. Like as much energy as you feel like you need to get home to be able to have dinner with your kids and to be able to like throw a ball around with your son or whatever it is that you need to do there. The same is true of your marriage. And I think that there is this real it's needed, it's necessary for us to continue to put more attention on that and be able to create more awareness around that because I do feel like we still are in the middle of this epidemic, man, where families are being broken apart. I mean, there's so many. I mean, it sucks to say this, but I am, across the board, I have more friends that are divorced than are probably married. Yeah, and that sucks
it does.
to say that, but yeah, man, I agree on that side of just like how this has been very fulfilling and has really helped a lot of people. And I'm excited to be able to get back to it, get back to work, be able to,
Yeah, because
put more episodes
you
out.
could be saving marriages, bro.
Hey,
Yeah,
if I could
in a real way.
no, I'm being really honest here. Like if I could do that, and if any piece of content that I could put out would help somebody think twice about, whatever it is, right? Like or think twice about forgiving their wife for this particular situation or, reconciling over this or just not making this as big of a deal or going and now enlisting in couples therapy to be able to try to fix this as opposed to walking away from it. Man, that would mean more than any other thing. Like, I would trade that. I would trade that one for, DJing in front of 100,000 people at whatever Coachella. Like,
For
for real.
sure, for sure. I feel like that is, I'm just getting all fuzzy just thinking about it because it does just that expression of being a dad can change your perspective on your whole life.
Yeah.
Because you're taking other people's experiences and other people's failures or growth, and you can apply it to yourself, not only to your children, but to your spouse. Because at the end of the day, it's the two of you that created this life, and it's the two of you's responsibility to make sure that they can have the opportunity to live their best life without having to sacrifice one or the other of you. Nothing makes a kid feel better than to see their mommy and daddy loving each other.
Well, it
That's
goes back to what you said, right? Like there's a safety, there's a stability that's there, there's structure that's there. Like kids need that. They need that structure. And when we can't provide that, and I'm not, look, there are reasons why people split up. Like I'm not saying that everybody should stay together to stay together. Like there's definitely circumstances that happen and things like that. But I do think that we live in a society right now and we have a culture that is, it's acceptable.
it's too convenient.
It's very convenient. It's
There's
very convenient.
ads
And
for promoting it. There's ads on billboards
oh
and bus
yeah,
stops and
yeah. Well, no,
commercials.
and a part of that is just it. I get it. I get it. We should be promoting like happiness and you being able to be happy and all of that. But at the same time, like there are situations that could probably be resolved if there were certain steps that were taken and if people could find a way to meet in the middle. And a lot of times that's not happening, and that's unfortunate because I mean we all know this, but like obviously then the family suffers, the kids suffer, like that's a whole thing. And now that becomes, what even gets passed down generation to generation, and you have, maybe single parents who are then potentially, maybe even without knowing it, promoting this idea of, well, you can do it on your own. I did it on my own. Like I made it work. And that's the part that I feel like needs to be readjusted. But this feels like a Tribe Called Dad.
Well, this
I
is
didn't
the
mean to, I didn't mean to commandeer truth from the booth. Like that's not
listen, there would be no truth from the booth if there wasn't a Tribe Called Dad. So, I'm happy to dabble in that and hopefully inspire because that's what this isn't about, showing off what we've done. It's about how far we've come and what we've been through to get here. And I think that being a father has a lot to do with it. And I
yeah.
want to share that with people because a lot of times as entertainers or as just human beings, we fear that once we have another person's life as our responsibility, we kind of have to give up our own
Right. Yeah.
and
No.
give up our
So
dream
false.
and not live to our full potential. And that's absolutely not true.
No, no.
And
Yeah.
if I can do it and you can do it, then the next man or woman can do it as well. And that's why this
100%.
space is so important. That's why I brought it up because it is a key factor in growth and success.
Well, I'll give you one more that I didn't realize until I'm like until this conversation, which is when we had started a Tribe Called Dad, didn't I didn't intend for this journey to lead me down this particular path, but it led me down a path of finding forgiveness for my own father, which was not something I expected, was not something I was, like, interested in or willing to do that work, and yet it did, and it's one of the greatest gifts that, being a part of that project gave me, and this notion of forgiveness and being able to let go of some of those things from the past that I was maybe holding on to was incredibly liberating. It was really experiencing freedom in that type of way by going through and doing some of the work there. And I mean, from a personal perspective, I feel like there was healing in a Tribe Called Dad, and not only for the other people who are listening to it, but also for me as one of the co-creators of it. Yeah.
Definitely good medicine. I connect with that 100% because as you become a father, you never understand what your father went through until you're in his shoes.
Yeah.
And, as a father, we are just doing the best we can
That's right.
with what
That's right.
we've
And
got.
and your best is different from somebody else's best.
Exactly.
And that's the part that we have to always keep in mind. I know it said be very mindful of always and never, but that is one of those always. Like we always need to keep in mind somebody else's shoes, like what that would be like. Your best is different than what my best is, and my best is different from what his best or her best is. And I think that part is incredibly important to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% agree. Man, so let me know when the date is. I'll be subscribed. I'll be liking, I'll be commenting, I'll be
Yeah.
calling in, I'll be tapping in to share my perspective because I can honestly tell you that being a father has been the best part of my life other than aside from whatever the dreams I've lived,
Yeah.
seeing my kids achieve their dreams and grow as well, I'm sure I know
Yeah.
that is so much more fulfilling than anything I can do for myself. That more people should be sharing in that and acknowledging it. And I'm sure it's going to be a huge freaking hit, assigned to Netflix eventually or whatever streaming
Hey,
service.
hey, let's put that in the air, man, for sure.
I am. Words are powerful and magic.
Yeah, 100%. Man, yesterday, so my second daughter, it was her birthday yesterday, and
Happy
I
birthday.
took yes, thank you, man. And I took my oldest daughter who said she was trying to be slick. She was like, "Can you pick me up after school so that we can go?" And she's like trying to like whisper it to me so that we can go to the store and buy Irie some stuff. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure. I'll pick you up and your mom will pick up Irie. Okay, cool." We went to the store, man, and she's picking out stuff. She's finding stuff that her sister would like. When she gets to the register, or she's like, adding things up as she's going. And I'm just kind of letting her do her thing. She's 12. I'm not trying to step. This is what she's trying to do on her own. So letting her kind of do her thing. We get to the register, they ring it up or whatever. It's like $21 for a bunch of the stuff that she got. And so she's like, "Oh, Good, perfect. I've got enough. She spent all of her money on her sister, everything that she had. She had like $2 left. And in that moment, man, that was one of those proud dad moments where I was just like, this daughter of mine is so generous. And like, yeah, they bicker and they fight and they argue and this and that. And it would have been just enough to for her to go and get her sister something, just to even get her sister a present. But she took it all the way there and she spent all her money as we're walking out of the store and we're getting into the car. She was like, "Well, I'm glad I had enough. Like, wow, I spent all my money, but it's worth it." And I was asking her, I was like, "That was all of your money? Like that was everything that you had?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's everything I had." It's like, "Wow, you did that for your sister?" "Yeah, well, it's her birthday." Like there was not even
Yeah, not an ounce of regret.
man, I almost started balling up literally in the car. I mean, I was getting, teary about it in the car. And in that moment, I just felt like, man, wow. Like, look at these humans that we're raising and have impact on. And obviously it's still a very long road. But for
Right.
my 12-year-old who could be thinking about, well, I'm gonna give her this, but I'm gonna save this money for myself because I'm gonna buy myself something. It was just such an act of selflessness, man, and, it was such confirmation. I still haven't even told my wife this, but it was such confirmation that, like, we're doing something right. We may
That's
not get it all right, but we're
right, but
doing
that was the
something right.
point I was gonna make is that that trickles down from the top. That comes from who you and your wife are as people, as community leaders, which we didn't
Yeah,
even get into, but as people that are inspiring and doing their best to not only for yourselves, but for everyone on this planet that is in touch with you.
yeah,
And, that's something to be really, that is something to be prideful over and deserves a tear of joy or two because it's hard to find these days. We
yeah.
live in a selfish world, but the key
Yeah, we do.
everything is being selfless. That
Yeah,
is the key to spread love, to get love, you have to give love. It's a fair exchange.
yeah,
So within, so without, as above, so below. These are the universal laws that we've gotten so far away from that people forget what it is to be in this experience. This is supposed to be a joyous, giving, loving, amazing experience.
right.
And for them to have that as a child is priceless. And man, I'm so proud of you as a not only as a DJ and entrepreneur, as an educator, but as a father and an inspiring, energetic source of vibration and frequency on this planet, man. It is just a joy to know you and to share this experience. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you, and likewise. I feel like there are so many people that I have to thank that have gotten me to this point, right? And there's so many different characters and people that have played roles along the way and continue to play those roles. And I value you as a friend, as a collaborator, uh, as a creative, as everything that you are, man. But I'm excited for what the next stages are for all of us. I think that, us being able to share our truth in this type of way and really just being able to, like you said, be able to pour this out. There is no pretense with this. There's, no ulterior motives between any of this. It's just like, hey, let's just share what we're going through or where we've been through with whoever's willing to listen and who's ever, hopefully people will be able to catch certain pieces and it'll add a net positive effect to their day, to their life. And, we'll see what ends up happening. But I appreciate it because, man, for those that don't create, it sort of sometimes it's unknown as to how much work goes into something like this. Even being able to put together a podcast, being able to do all of this stuff, man. And we talked about it the other day. Really, is just about consistency and being able to, just continue to put one foot in front of the next. So I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of everything that you're doing. Proud of the man that you are. I'm proud to know you, and I can't wait for the next chapter.
Thank you, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it as well. We are definitely going to do this again
Yeah,
on the Tribe Called Dad. We could run it back
yeah, for sure.
and keep exchanging this love, wisdom, and inspiration. Let everybody know where they can get a hold of you, where they can get your music, where they can take a course, where they
Yeah.
can follow you for any gigs or anything that you got going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So everything is at DJ HAPA, DJ HAPA on all the platforms. My website is hapaworld.com, or you can get there also by going to djhapa.com. And then yeah, the education side of things, the DJ Coach. So thedjcoach.com, courses, community, certification programs, it's all there for you. If you're looking to level up, we specialize in being able to take people who are growth minded individuals and empowering them to be able to reach their full potential. So if that's you and that's something that you want to get into, whether you haven't started DJing yet and you have this itch, or you've been a DJ for a while, but maybe you're a little bit stagnant. You're looking for a coach. You're looking for mentorship. You're looking to level up. That could be a good resource. And then, yeah, a tribecalleddad.com coming soon, a reboot of that. But in the meantime, I mean, there's a ton of evergreen content that's on A Tribe Called Dad for every life stage. So if you are an expecting dad, if you have a newborn, if you've got kids who are just starting school, if you've got teenagers, we've got things at every level, including empty nest as well,
Mm,
which, there are people that may be listening to this that, you're once a father, always a father,
right.
right? So we felt like we needed also content for every life stage. So we've got that stuff as well. Yeah, just be on the lookout for some of these things that are coming. And thank you so much for having me, Prophet.
Of course, man. I appreciate you coming on the Truth from the Booth episode number 17 with none other than DJ HAPA. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate all the subscriptions, all the notification bell that you've clicked to know we got a new episode. Everyone on Spotify, thank you so much for tuning in, logging on, and subscribing. More episodes to come. We are consistent this year. The guests are lining up. They're at the door, like at the velvet rope of the nightclub, just waiting to get in. No bottle service necessary. Just hit me up, pull up, and we got you. But thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate you, Hapa. Until next time, my brother.
Yes,
Don't hang
sir.
up. Don't hang up. We're gonna render this and we're gonna get it going. But make sure you catch Truth in the Booth weekly episodes, YouTube, Spotify, and also follow us on Instagram on the Truth from the Booth. I got a new page up and we're delivering content weekly. So thank you for all your support on that. And until next time, I'm DJ Prophet. That is DJ Hoppa. This is the Truth from the Booth. Bam, bam, bam.
Yes,
Do it.
sir.